G'day guys, Holy Critic here, signing in, and today I wanted to take the opportunity, now that my main channel, Jesus Wept, has reached 50,000 subscribers, to share with you my top 5 free movies to watch on YouTube. Now, just a disclaimer, I'm going to completely self-promote that channel because I've got almost 100 movies now available to watch for free. And I just thought, why don't I share with you guys, because I haven't done this yet, out of those movies, what are my top 5 picks that I recommend every single one of you should watch? Well, if you look at my channel right now, you'll see that if I sort by most popular, there's a clear winner above all the rest. And that is the movie Lethal Vows, starring John Ritter and Marge Helgenberger, with 1.6 million views. Incredible. And in 5th place, I've selected this movie mainly because of John Ritter. Now, most of you guys will know he's more of a comedic actor. You know, he did a lot of sitcoms and a lot of sort of family movies. But this one totally goes against the grain of what you expect from him, because here he actually plays a supposedly loving father and a devoted husband to his wife, but insidiously behind the scenes he is poisoning her because he wants out of the marriage, and he doesn't want to go through the process of divorce and alimony and, you know, the divorce courts and the custody battles. So he tries to kill his wife by slowly poisoning her over time. And the story itself is based on the true life case of Dr. Richard K. Overton, who was eventually convicted of the crime of fatally poisoning his wife. But the strangest aspect of this story is that he had previously married before and also tried to kill that wife before divorcing her. And as the story goes, he was able to perfect his method of dosing his current wife, who died in 1988, with cyanide. And it's a very, very disturbing story. And John Ritter really breaks the typecast and plays this character, as you can see on screen right now, who ended up dying in prison, as he should, for killing his wife. And you guys have loved it, but if you haven't seen this one, I really, really recommend it, because I've got not only a fond spot for true crime stories, but I like to see actors break the trends. You know, you see it with other actors like Robin Williams. They did these very serious, gritty movies where they played a killer, and it's just, you don't expect an actor to pull off a character like that. And that's why I put Lethal Vows in 5th position on this top 5 list. Okay, so moving on to 4th spot, and this choice will probably come as no surprise to most of you, because if you're regular viewers of Jesus Wept, you'll know that Brian Dennehy is far and away my favorite actor. He's completely underrated, and you guys probably share the same sentiment as me. Every movie he's in, whether it's good, bad, ugly, mediocre, whatever, he seems to be able to draw your attention. And as you can see here, I've created a whole playlist of movies, so if you want to know what he's about, just go check that out. But one movie comes to mind when I really think of what a dynamic and versatile actor he is. Now, a lot of people associate Brian Dennehy with playing detective or cop roles, or playing lawyers or attorneys, DAs. He's very commanding in those roles. He's very authoritative. But I'd argue, and I did this in my top 5 Brian Dennehy TV movies video, so definitely check that out also, that he plays the villain far, far better. And case in point is To Catch a Killer, where he plays probably the most notorious serial killer in US history, John Wayne Gacy. Now, that name probably rings a bell in your head, but this picture might help you out. He was the clown killer. You know, I don't know whether he inspired Stephen King's It. That's I don't know, but this guy his story is so creepy, and how he was able to maneuver and how he was able to rub shoulders with, you know, people of upstanding social status in the community, yet be so dark and evil behind the scenes. Brian Dennehy really captures this guy's essence of evil in To Catch a Killer. And what I really liked about this movie is it doesn't have any problems sleuthing out the entire criminal investigation behind the scenes that was going on when he was in his prime as a serial killer. And you see both sides. You see Brian Dennehy committing the murders, but you also see the detectives, you know, chasing the breadcrumbs and connecting the dots and slowly bringing him under the weight of the law. And it's you got to be able to schedule the time to watch it. But if you want to know why he is such a beloved actor, definitely check out To Catch a Killer. All right, so in third spot, I picked the movie Crime of the Century, and this movie is a dramatization of one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in US history. And I don't say that lightly, because I know a lot of cases qualify for that categorization. But it's based on the 1932 kidnap and murder of Charles Lindbergh's infant son, who was initially held for ransom but was later found dead by the side of the road near their property. And a few years later, a gentleman by the name of Bruno Hauptmann, who in the movie is portrayed by Stephen Ray, British actor, and he was pinned for the crime, and he had absolutely nothing to do with it. But the level of corruption and the level of bending facts and reality and fabricating evidence to get this man convicted, who by all accounts was an upstanding citizen who had a family and children, but this mentality of convict at all costs resulted in an innocent man going to the gallows, basically. And when I first saw this movie, I was seething with outrage when I watched the movie, and just, you wonder how a judge and a jury could convict a man who, on just pure circumstantial evidence, it was just incredible. And a lot of lessons have come from this, and certainly you hope that it would never ever happen again to an innocent person, because the real culprit who murdered that boy was never captured for the crime. So he probably went on to do other similar cases, and they never connected the dots because Bruno Hauptmann went down for the crime. And I highly, highly recommend this movie. It was nominated for 4 Golden Globes, and it's a star-studded production. Isabella Rossellini also gives a good performance, and J.T. Walsh, who never let you down, really. So that's why Crime of the Century made my third spot on this list. In second spot, I picked probably my biggest release to date, and that being The Insider from 1999. And this may come as a surprise to you, but I'd actually never heard of this movie before, but I should have, because it's probably one of, if not the best movie of that year. I know that was a very competitive year, but you can't get any better than Al Pacino and Russell Crowe at their prime. It is an absolute delight, an absolute acting masterclass to watch these two interact with one another on screen. And at the helm, Michael Mann, who also directed Heat, another movie with Al Pacino and someone who's less popular these days, Robert De Niro. But the movie is really riveting because it exposes all the dark seediness of the tobacco industry and how they've added addictive chemicals to their cigarettes to increase consumption and suppress studies which obviously indicated the disease, the epidemiology behind long-term smoking and the damage it does to the population, and the lobbying they did to make sure that politicians turned a blind eye to their malfeasance. And although the movie was made 20 years ago, the lessons that can be learned from it and the principalities at play are just as relevant today as they were back then. So this is a movie I highly recommend. It is absolutely, clearly head and shoulders above all the rest of my movies because of these two actors alone. But the true story behind it, which if you're interested in finding out more, there was actually a 60 minutes expose on it, which is touched upon in the movie. It is so interesting to see how screwed up this world really, really is. Just watch it because you will not be disappointed, and everybody who's seen it has said this is their favorite movie of mine so far. So if that isn't a glowing endorsement, I don't know what is. Well, we've reached the end, and there's no time that's better than now to throw a spanner in the works. My number one pick for the top 5 free movies on YouTube is Intensity. What's that movie? I say that because when I released Intensity about 6 months ago, it barely got any viewers. And if you've seen my review for it, you'll know I rated it 4.5 Halos out of 5. So why wasn't this movie more popular? Sure, it's a TV movie, and sure, it's not as great as Silence of the Lambs, and sure, it's 3 hours long, but it's the best 3 hours you'll ever see. This is a movie that lives up to its title. And it's written by a man by the name of Dean Koontz, who I can't give enough praise for because he is the master of suspense. Intensity is about a woman's cat and mouse exchange with a serial killer who's played by John C. McGinley, the deadpan comedic actor that you'll know from Scrubs. This guy is he's not the most realistic serial killer. There's plenty of other portrayals. I mean, Brian Dennehy did a better serial killer, but John C. McGinley, this is a guy that you can't help but hate. He's so cruel. He's so psychopathic. And every second of this movie, he chews the scenery. It's incredible. He absolutely takes over this movie. I can't give this movie enough praise, but it made number 1 on my list because I really need you guys to see this movie. And if you want to take me up on that offer, make sure you scroll down to the pinned comment below because I've got links to each one of the movies I've discussed today. But if on the off chance that nothing I've said has interested you, just head over to Jesus Wept anyway because I've got a whole array of different movies for different types of people from different genres to appeal to everybody, from romance, comedy, war, drama, action, crime, everything. I've got it, and they're all free, so don't worry about anything hidden. But make sure you also subscribe to Holy Critic because I review each movie a day before releasing it over there. So hit the subscribe button on the left of screen if you haven't done that already. Enjoy the rest of your day, and this is Holy Critic signing out.